In his bleakest year, stuck in the gray expanse of the nether, Leo found himself raising a child he couldn't afford. The concept was absurd. He held up his 2-year-old, a boy named Cody, and looked him square in the eye. He posed the question of whether Cody knew anything about stock trading. The boy just shook his head, his curls bouncing. A follow-up about hacking skills was met with the same silent refusal. Leo sighed, a sound lost in the perpetual twilight. This was nothing like the stories he'd read. That night, he packed Cody's few belongings, scribbled a note with a piece of charcoal, and left him for his wealthy, living father. The message was concise: he's a Vance. All yours. No returns, no exchanges. One moment, Leo was drifting through a lecture on early American history, a class he was auditing from the spectral plane. The next, he was waking in a cold, damp place. Strange, distorted figures, the resident spirits of the nether, gathered around, their hollow eyes fixed on him. It was a jarring realization that these were no longer the faces of the living. A pale entity, one of the guides, presented him with a squirming infant. It was a boy, he was told. Leo's hands, which had started to reach out, quickly retracted. His gaze darted around, finally processing the truth. This was the afterlife. He was dead, and somehow he'd just had a child. The Nether's Unemployed Spirits Committee, taking pity on the newborn, assigned him a small, dilapidated housing unit. It wasn't much, but it was a roof. 2 years passed. The tiny, kitten-like infant grew into a plump, healthy-looking toddler, indistinguishable from a living child. Cody was currently on the floor, batting at a small, shimmering soul wisp. After a moment, when he thought Leo wasn't looking, he popped it into his mouth like a piece of candy. Cody scrambled to his feet, his face flushed with excitement. He asked if he could go play at Mrs. Gable's house next door. He explained, his little hands gesturing wildly, that her son had left so many wonderful things at her grave site. Mrs. Gable was a recent arrival, and her devoted son frequently sent offerings of flowers, candies, and memories, which manifested as potent, flavorful echoes in the nether. Leo agreed, but warned Cody not to consume too many echoes, reminding him of the stomachaches that always followed. The boy promised and then trotted off on his sturdy little legs. Leo watched him go, a frown creasing his brow. It struck him as odd that a 2-year-old could run, jump, and speak with such fluency. He glanced at the month's expense ledger, a tally of favors owed and energy bartered. The deficit was staggering. No one in his past life, during his own college days, had ever warned him that raising a kid was this expensive. That evening, as expected, Cody was miserable. The pain in his stomach was worse than ever before. His round face was blotchy, streaked with pearly tears. His small hands clenched the fabric of Leo's shirt as he curled into a tight ball, murmuring about how much his tummy hurt. Leo's heart ached. He gently rubbed the boy's stomach before lifting him carefully, cradling his head, and rushing toward the administrative offices of the guides, his only real connections in this entire realm. Cody's stomach cramps soon gave way to a raging fever, his cheeks burning a bright red. As Leo repeatedly applied a cool, damp cloth to his forehead, the two guides conferred in hushed, crackling whispers. The paler one explained that Cody had been born with a fragmented soul. The abdominal pain and fever were likely caused by stray nether energy seeping into his essence during its formation. He stressed the danger. If Cody's soul didn't solidify, he wouldn't survive. He couldn't stay in the nether any longer. The darker guide looked at Leo, his voice a low rumble. He reminded Leo of his constant complaints about being unable to provide for the boy. This, he suggested, was the perfect opportunity to pass him on to his other father. The Pale One eagerly agreed, championing the joys of a single, unburdened existence. Leo hesitated, scratching his cheek. The problem, he admitted, was that he had no idea who the child's other father was. The guides seemed unfazed by his memory lapse. They assured him it was no problem, that the Nether was full of helpful souls. Using a bit of their authority, the Pale Guide quickly accessed the ethereal records and retrieved the name and address of the child's living parent, Julian Vance. The name meant nothing to Leo. A wave of existential confusion washed over him. Was he truly dead, or had he been transported from another reality? If he was dead, why had no one sent so much as a thought, let alone an offering, for him in all this time? And if he wasn't, how did one wake up having given birth to a child? For now, the priority was convincing Cody to go. The darker guide administered something that soothed the boy's pain, and he drifted into a light sleep. But as soon as Leo laid him down, his eyes fluttered open. Cody instinctively checked his stomach, and finding the pain gone, scrambled into Leo's arms. He asked if he could have one of the sweet echoes that tasted like chocolate. Chocolate. It was the emergency ration of a college student, but a powerful lure for his son. Cody, unlike other spirits, had the rosy complexion of a living child. He could consume the echoes left by the living, but he was incredibly picky. While basic echoes were common, the chocolate-flavored ones, remnants of luxury offerings, were a rare delicacy. Leo got up and rummaged through his small stash, finding one last piece. He set Cody on a small table and they sat in silence for a moment, just looking at each other. The boy really didn't seem like a typical spirit. Cody reached out a tiny hand and touched Leo's forehead, his voice laced with concern. He wanted to know if his papa was sick too. Leo assured him he was fine, then cleared his throat. It was time. He asked Cody very seriously if he knew how to trade stocks. The boy tilted his head, thought for a moment, and said no. He then asked about hacking. Cody's eyes were wide with confusion. Clearly not. As Leo broke the chocolate-flavored echo into small pieces and fed them to his son, he felt a surge of foolishness. The Nether had no stock market, no computers. If Cody did have those skills, that would be the truly ghostly thing. Once Cody was happily munching away, his guard down, Leo made his move. He asked the boy if he wanted to see the world outside. Cody's eyes flickered up, his mouth full. He mumbled that he only wanted to be with his papa. That approach had failed. Leo switched tactics, appealing to the boy's helpful nature. He explained that he wanted to see the outside world, and Cody could fulfill that wish for him. See what? The boy asked. Leo wiped his son's mouth gently. He told him to go check on his other father, to make sure he was eating and sleeping properly, and, as a side benefit, to help his own soul become whole. Cody thought about it, his brow furrowed. He asked if he would have to go alone, remarking that this other father must be very silly to need someone to watch him eat and sleep. Leo had to agree that it was a valid point. He offered a final bribe, another piece of the chocolate echo if Cody agreed. After a moment of intense deliberation, the boy relented. At 4 a.m, the hour when the veil between worlds was thinnest, Leo carried the sleeping child out of the Nether. He followed the address given by the guides and soon found himself floating outside a sprawling modern villa. On his way past the security gate, he spotted a pile of discarded cardboard boxes and liberated a large one, perfect for transporting his precious cargo. As dawn began to break, the sound of exercise equipment whirred from inside the house. Leo placed the box, containing the soundly sleeping and rosy-cheeked Cody, on the front porch. He pressed the doorbell, then quickly phased through the wall of the villa to hide. Footsteps approached from within. Huddled in the wall space next to the box, Leo risked a final touch of his son's warm cheek. The door opened. A tall, imposing figure stood there. Guilt and nerves made Leo keep his head down, his spectral hand fiddling with Cody's chubby fingers. The man, Julian Vance, said nothing. He simply picked up the note Leo had left on the baby's blanket. In an instant, his expression darkened. Without a word, a large hand shot out, reaching directly for Leo's. It was a terrifying moment of certainty. The man could see ghosts. Panicked, Leo yanked his hand back, only to realize Julian was merely taking hold of Cody's hand, which had been in the same spot. A wave of relief washed over him. As the sky lightened, Leo watched from his hiding place as Julian carried the boy inside. Then he drifted away. It had worked. The first few days without Cody were blissful, quiet. But soon, an unease began to creep in. He wondered if Julian even knew how to care for a child. Men like that, wealthy and powerful, were often suspicious by nature. What if he decided Cody wasn't his and abandoned him? Besides, Cody's condition was still fragile. Leo needed a plan. He reached out and grabbed a passing spirit. He asked him if he wanted to trade jobs. The ghost he'd stopped looked at him, his cheeks inexplicably flushing. He stammered that he wasn't for sale. Leo clarified that he meant a work exchange. In the Nether, jobs were broadly divided into collection and sorting. Collectors went out into the living world, while sorters stayed put. A perfect job for lazy spirits. The one Leo had nabbed was just such a homebody. He eagerly agreed. His route, he said, was to collect ambient life force from a family at a particular address. The address sounded familiar. Leo asked if the owner's name was Vance. The ghost's listless eyes lit up. He confirmed it was, complaining that the energy at that house was impossible to collect. He could never get inside. The ghost quickly shut his mouth, worried he'd said too much and scared Leo off the deal. Leo's plan was simple. Once Cody's soul was stable, he would take him back. They sealed the deal, both spirits convinced they had gotten the better end of it. To work in the mortal realm, a spirit needed an official pass from the Bureau of Ghostly Affairs. Without one, they couldn't linger in the daylight. Pass in hand, Leo sped toward the villa. It was 2 a.m. Prime time for spectral activity, yet the house was unervingly silent. The place was massive, and it took him a while to find Cody's room. The boy was fast asleep, clutching something and bringing it toward his mouth. Leo intervened just in time, realizing with a jolt of cold fear that Cody was holding a struggling soul wisp. These were not the gentle echoes he was used to. The guides had warned him about these. They emitted an alluring scent but contained a heavy, volatile essence. For a small spirit, consuming one could be fatal. The wisp, released from Cody's chubby grasp, scurried away through a crack in the window. Deprived of his snack, Cody's eyes fluttered open. He mumbled "Papa," then, fully awake, launched himself at Leo, burying his face in his chest and repeating how much he'd missed him. Within moments, he was asleep again. Leo gently placed him back in bed. With time to spare before dawn, he drifted toward the master bedroom. Julian's room was dark, but a faint golden light emanated from the man sleeping in the bed. His life force was incredibly potent, and, Leo had to admit, the man was handsome, with a strong nose and a physique that suggested he was well over 6 feet. He followed the collection method the other ghost had taught him, which involved simply standing outside the door and absorbing the ambient energy. It was a slow process. The other ghost had complained about the indignity of having to press against the wall. but he'd insisted that getting inside was impossible. Leo wondered why. The door wasn't going to run away. After a few minutes of slow absorption from the hallway, he grew tired and impatient. In a flash, he phased through the wall and draped himself directly over Julian's body. A powerful, warm wave of energy washed through him. It felt strangely familiar, making his own form flicker between heavy and light. So this was the life force of a tycoon. Interesting. He hadn't been there long when Julian's eyes snapped open. They stared at each other. Leo froze, then scrambled back, terrified. He held his breath, motionless. He must not have seen him. Julian stared at the spot where Leo had been, his expression one of someone waking from a nightmare. After a minute, his eyes closed again, his breathing evening out. Convinced he was unseen, Leo crept back and resumed his absorption. As he did, he felt something press against him. His mind raced. It was impossible. Humans couldn't see ghosts. That would be ghostly. In the morning, Cody woke up calling for his papa. Leo quickly materialized beside him, placing a hand over his mouth and shushing him. The boy's eyes widened, but he nodded. He whispered, asking if Leo was there to help him supervise his big papa and make sure he ate and slept. Leo had almost forgotten the excuse he'd made up. He confirmed that was the plan, but explained that he was the secret partner working from the shadows. Cody's face lit up with purpose, his small hands clenching into determined fists. Julian entered the room. Cody, already dressed, was struggling with his pants. Julian walked right past Leo's spectral form and picked up the trousers. He was dressed in soft, casual clothes, a stark contrast to the imposing figure from the night before. Leo watched his son's soul. It was solidifying, but the progress was negligible. As Julian knelt to tie Cody's shoes, Leo drifted closer. At that moment, he saw thin tendrils of Julian's golden energy flow into Cody's body, mending the frayed edges of his soul. But it was like trying to fill an ocean with a teaspoon. It seemed they were both there to steal Julian's energy. Julian took Cody to his office for the day, a move that served to announce to the entire company that their CEO now had a son. Leo spent the next few days in the villa, amusing himself with minor mischief. He'd hover over Julian in the shower, squeezing out endless streams of shampoo. He'd steal a pen from his desk and hide it in his own pocket. One afternoon, Julian was at his desk working while Cody played with kinetic sand in a small playpen. Leo checked the time. He had to report back to the Nether. He told Cody he had to go for a little while, but that he should continue his important supervision duties. Cody froze, the sand slipping through his fingers. His voice, when he spoke, was choked with tears. He begged his papa not to go, not even for a little while. The quiet sobs were heartbreakingly loud in the silent room. Julian heard them and asked what was wrong. The deadline for returning was ticking away. With a heavy heart, Leo faded away, leaving his tear-streaked son behind. He didn't stay to hear Julian's gentle, helpless voice promising Cody that next time, they would make his papa stay. He made it back to the Nether just in time to turn in the collected energy. Then he went straight to the guide's office to demand answers about when Cody's soul would finally be stable. He couldn't bear to see his son cry like that again. The door was ajar, and he heard their familiar whispers from inside. They were talking about the little lord and where he might have gone. He burst in, cutting them off. He demanded to know when Cody would be healed. The two spirits froze, startled. The darker one asked where he'd been. Leo told them he'd been working. The guide seemed confused, saying he thought Leo's job was local reconnaissance. Leo explained that he had traded jobs with another spirit to be near his son, and that his new job was absorbing life force. specifically Julian Vance's. At this, the pale guide fainted dead away. The darker one, catching his partner, asked in a panic if Leo had turned in the energy he'd collected. Leo nodded. If not for that deadline, he wouldn't have made his son cry. "We're doomed," the dark guide muttered, dragging his unconscious colleague out the door. They sprinted away as if their home was on fire. Leo was left bewildered. They rushed to the Hall of the Five Generals, where a stern-looking entity was placing a glowing golden object before a large stone statue. The general saw Leo hiding behind the guides and gave a formal bow. "My lord," the dark guide coughed loudly, interrupting him and commenting on the lovely glow of the nether moon. The general, catching on, corrected himself, addressing Leo as young man and asking what they needed. The dark guide asked if his life force had been deposited. The general confirmed it had been, and that the amount was sufficient. The statue behind him pulsed with a golden light that felt eerily familiar to Leo. A wave of despair washed over the two guides. "No more overtime," they wailed. Leo didn't understand, but he pitied his fellow workers. On the way back, their spirits were low. Leo asked again about Cody. The pale guide, no longer bothering with pretense, explained that Cody's soul was special. His own ability to absorb life force was very low, and direct exposure to a source as powerful as Julian's was too intense. The proper way, he said, was for Leo to absorb the energy first, refine it, and then pass it to Cody. He gave Leo a grim look. "Your good days are coming too," he said, his tone dripping with bitter irony. It sounded like the same empty promises he'd heard in high school. When Leo rushed back to the villa, the first floor was empty. He searched for Cody's scent, but instead detected a different, alarming aroma. The clean, sharp presence of a mortal mystic. There was an exorcist in Julian's house. Had he seen Cody's unstable soul? Leo shot up to the third-floor bedroom. Julian and another man were talking. The man, Elias Thorne, was explaining that Cody's soul had detached from his body, likely triggered by an overwhelmingly potent external energy source. Julian admitted he'd given Cody a small, energized charm because he seemed to like it. He demanded to know what to do. Cody was lying peacefully on the bed, but his soul was gone. Leo glared at Julian, his spectral form vibrating with anger. His son had been fine when he left. Elias, for all his calm talk, admitted that a full soul separation in one so young was dire. There was no telling where the soul might have wandered or what dangers it might encounter. Julian's voice was strained when he asked how they could find him. Elias was already setting up a ritual around Cody's bed, drawing a circle and taking out a silver, bell-like object. He would try to call the boy's soul back. A golden light filled the circle. Leo knelt by the bed, and Julian stood right beside him, his presence solid and tense. Leo watched Elias, skeptical of his abilities. Most mystics were supposed to have the sight, yet this one seemed completely unaware of Leo's presence. He noticed Julian glancing repeatedly in his direction and felt a prickle of unease. There was nothing behind him. Elias finished the ritual, the bell falling silent. He turned to Julian and shook his head. He hadn't found him. Leo couldn't wait any longer. This man was clearly an amateur. He started to phase out of the room, intending to rally other local spirits for a search party. But then Elias spoke again, his voice rising with a new idea. There was another way, he said. Julian, as a blood relative, could project his own spirit. Their souls would resonate, allowing him to find the boy. Without a word, Julian moved Cody to his own large bed and lay down beside him, telling Elias to begin. Leo was aghast. What kind of hack was this mystic? For a mortal to leave their body was incredibly dangerous. But the ritual had already started. Leo retreated to the window, watching as Julian's shimmering soul form lifted from his body and vanished. After what felt like an eternity, Julian's soul returned. He opened his eyes, but Cody remained still. Elias looked baffled. Julian sighed, his voice heavy with exhaustion. He had found him, he said, but Leo didn't wait to hear the rest. He shot out of the villa, following the faint trail of Julian's energy. He arrived at a place of intense spiritual gloom, a nexus that attracted wandering spirits and darker things. He heard the guttural rasp of a maw of despair nearby, and his non-existent heart sank. He pushed forward and saw it. Cody was not a victim. He was gleefully riding on the maw's monstrous head, shouting, "Giddy up!" The creature, a being of pure malice, seemed utterly charmed, its rough voice almost gentle as it obeyed the toddler's commands. Other small spirits had gathered, offering up their best echoes to the little boy as if he were a king. Leo was dumbfounded. Cody saw him and slid down from the maw's head, shouting, "Papa!" The sound was clear and bright. Leo saw Elias, who had followed with Julian, glance at his employer before taking out his bell and pretending to perform a soul retrieval ritual as they all headed back. Back in the villa, with Cody's soul safely returned to his body, the boy woke up instantly, feeling fine. He saw Leo's stern expression, said nothing, and quietly went back to playing with his toys. Leo sat on a tower of building blocks, his body still subconsciously absorbing the rich ambient energy in the room. He finally understood what the guide had meant. Julian's power was too raw for Cody, causing his soul to detach. But for Leo it was different. As he absorbed it, the feeling of heaviness returned, the phantom weight of a physical body after a long run. And with it came a new sensation. Julian smelled incredible, absolutely divine. He found himself irresistibly drawn to the man. That night, he tentatively draped himself over Julian again, letting the potent energy saturate him. It was bliss. A routine formed. By day, he would transfer the refined energy to Cody. By night, he would secretly replenish his supply from the sleeping Julian. This was the good life the guide had prophesied. No childcare duties, a handsome man to look at, and a free, all-you-can-absorb buffet of premium life force. He could do this forever. Months passed. The guides were busy and left him alone. Cody's stomachaches were a thing of the past. The energy transfers had worked wonders at first, but now their effect was diminishing. They couldn't stay in the mortal world indefinitely, but there was no clear end in sight. One afternoon, as Cody was idly poking holes in one of Julian's reports with a fountain pen, a strange thought, a memory fragment, pierced through the fog in Leo's mind. He was a ghost. Julian was a human. That meant he must have died while pregnant with Cody. Why? Was it an accident? Or was it something more sinister? His mind spun with tropes from novels. A tragic lover, a rival, a plot. Cody mumbled something under his breath. Leo didn't catch it and asked him to repeat it. The boy just changed the subject, reminding his papa that when he went back, he had to take Cody with him. Leo smiled. That was his boy. As they plodded, Julian sat nearby, pretending to read the same page of his document over and over. That night, Leo settled onto Julian's bed first, enjoying the soft mattress and the fragrant energy. The man might be a scoundrel, but his assets were undeniable. In the dead of night, he awoke to a feeling of paralysis. His body was on fire, sweat pouring from a form that shouldn't be able to sweat. His eyes wouldn't open. It felt like sleep paralysis, his spectral form flickering between weightless and leaden. A strong pair of hands seemed to grip his waist. The burning heat passed, and he drifted back to sleep. In the darkness, a second pair of eyes slowly closed. He woke up feeling refreshed and energized. He went to Cody's room and carried him to the bathroom for their morning routine. As Cody brushed his teeth, Leo stood waiting, and that's when he saw it. There were two people in the mirror. He reached up and touched his own face, feeling the solid, warm texture of skin. He looked down at his physical hands. He had turned from a ghost into a person. He grabbed a towel, scooped up Cody, and made a break for the door. A calm, amused voice stopped him in his tracks. "And where are you taking Cody?" Leo froze, turning with a forced, awkward smile. He frantically wiped Cody's face with the towel. He offered the weak excuse that they were just going outside to wash up. Julian was not convinced. Leo felt pinned against the door, afraid any sudden move would get him labeled a kidnapper. The silence stretched, thick and heavy. Finally, Julian let out an almost imperceptible sigh. "Asher," he said, "come here." He knew his real name. It had to be a novel plot. Leo walked forward and defensively held Cody against his chest. Julian gently took the child from him. Leo felt an irrational urge to run, but Julian's hand shot out and gripped his wrist, holding him fast. Julian asked if he had any questions. There were so many, but he couldn't bring himself to ask. Julian's grip softened, and a small smile touched his lips. "Then let me tell you." He was Asher, the newly born and notoriously playful lord of the Nether. On his first day on the throne, he had run away. The old lord had sealed the realm, trapping the pursuing guides outside the sanctuary where Asher had hidden, the Silent City. Its ruler was Julian, a handsome, solitary being who initially ignored him completely. But Asher was smitten. Julian, he learned, was a warden, a powerful entity who had been in seclusion for centuries. Asher used every trick he could think of to get close to him, only to be tossed out every time. In frustration, he'd accused Julian of being impotent, pointing out that since they were both male, propriety was a moot point. He threatened to spread rumors that the great warden of the Silent City had taken him captive for his beauty. That had finally broken Julian's composure. He'd let Asher stay, though he always placed a pillow between them in bed. Asher, inspired by his own threat, decided to create a child. As the Lord of the Nether, his essence was pure soul. He took half of his own, combined it with a drop of soul blood taken from Julian as he slept, and nurtured the resulting life within his own being. But a crisis erupted in the lowest levels of the Nether. The foulest spirits broke free, and Julian was forced to end his seclusion. He left Asher a note. "Leave. Don't come back." Enraged and feeling used, Asher stormed out, single-handedly quelling the rebellion. But his power was diminished from creating Cody, and in the chaos, a final demon attacked, tearing at his soul. In his last moments of consciousness, he protected the nascent life within him, and then, darkness. He vaguely recalled his father, the old lord, saying he would be sent to another world to recover. So, he was the Lord of the Nether, and Julian was the Warden of the Silent City. His time as Leo had been a form of soul healing. Julian had followed him, creating a human vessel for himself that could only be awakened by his own spiritual energy. A crucial point occurred to Asher. He had pursued Julian so relentlessly, and Julian had just left him with a note. Julian didn't deny it but explained that the Nether was in chaos, and his own power was unstable. He had feared hurting Asher. Asher didn't believe a word of it. Without his memories, Julian could spin any tale he wanted. Cody, however, was thrilled, declaring that he had always been with his papa. Asher looked at his radiant son. Fine. He would go full single parent. He took Cody and returned to the Nether, forbidding Julian to follow. The realm's economy had stagnated in his absence. A workforce of slackers had been left without a boss. Suddenly, the reconnaissance job the guides had given him made sense. But after 2 hours of reviewing petitions and reports, Asher's head was spinning. He fell asleep at his desk. When he awoke, Julian was sitting beside him, calmly sorting through the paperwork. He jumped up, demanding to know who let him in. Julian ignored the question, his voice soft and coaxing. He offered to handle all of it, for forgiveness. He added that Cody's soul still wasn't fully stable, and he knew a faster way to transfer the energy. Asher pointed to the mountain of scrolls. Fine. Work if you want. Leave if you don't. But when Julian began to take on the burdens of running the Nether and raising their son, Asher let him. The guides were in awe. Only their lord, it seemed, could tame the Great Warden. The comfortable days didn't last. A crisis arose, a surge in resentful souls across all territories. Just as the 10 halls of judgment sent urgent requests for guidance, Julian went on strike. He was tired, he said. Years of free labor had worn him out. And just like that, the entire weight of the Nether fell back on Asher. He was too proud to ask for help, but as the problems mounted, Julian reappeared. Asher swallowed his pride. He asked if Julian was there to help. Julian knelt before him. Asher, he said, marry me. I'll handle the paperwork and the child rearing. I'll handle everything. All Asher heard was handle the paperwork. Worn down and desperate, he agreed instantly, afraid he'd change his mind. The guides, ever the observers, whispered that perhaps it was the warden who had tamed their lord after all. Using Cody as an excuse, Julian moved into the lord's private chambers. That night, he pressed Asher into the bed, insisting it was time to show him that faster way of absorbing energy. On their wedding day, Asher was still nervous. What if this was all a trick? But he put on the white tuxedo anyway. They had 2 ceremonies, one in the mortal realm and one in the Nether. Both were magnificent. Cody, as the ring-bearer, was unbearably cute. Later, in the bedroom of the villa, they kissed. But just as things were about to progress, Julian stopped. He asked if Asher was ready. Asher, thinking he meant something else, blushed and nodded. Julian's forehead glowed with a golden light, which then flowed into Asher. The past 2 years and everything before them came flooding back. The memory of that dismissive note ignited a fresh wave of anger. He kicked Julian squarely in the ribs. "Get off me," he snarled. Julian's eyes darkened. He caught Asher's leg, his grip unyielding. Too late, he murmured, and then he bit him hard. "Hey!" Asher yelped. "Are you a dog?"